Hello and welcome to BYJU'S Exam Prep IAS. Before we start with our today's analysis, a quick gentle reminder. BYJU'S Exam Prep IAS is now on Telegram. If you have not yet joined the channel, please do join so that you get all the current affairs related updates. Let's get started and look into the first article. The first article is speaking about deepfake technology. In this article, we will try and understand what is this deepfake technology, what are the issues concerning the deepfake technology, why is China coming up with certain new rules and regulations, what are the laws that are present in multiple other countries, and do we have a law in India? All of this will be part of this discussion. First, let us try and understand what is the context. Why is China introducing this rule book for the deepfake technology? First, we have to understand the context. The Cyberspace Administration of China, the country's cyberspace watchdog, is rolling out new regulations to restrict the use of deep synthesis technology to curb disinformation. So the first question that comes into picture is, what is this deep synthesis technology? As the very name denotes, there are three words here. One is deep, second is synthesis, third happens to be technology. So what is deep here? Deep here basically looks at deep learning. What is deep learning? There is making use of artificial intelligence, machine learning, new techniques that are present as part of the technology so that you can synthesize, make use of it, use the artificial intelligence so that you can come up with videos, images, so on and so forth. So basically, when we look at deep synthesis technology, you are making use of complex algorithms, deep learning, virtual reality, artificial intelligence so that you can synthesize, generate a photo, audio, video or virtual sensors, anything of these types. One part of the deep synthesis technology happens to be the deepfake technology. So remember, in deep synthesis technology, you synthesize. So you generate something like an image, video, so on and so forth. As part of this deep synthesis technology, an aspect of it is called as the deepfake technology. So what is this deepfake technology? As the very name denotes, you have deepfake. What is deep here? Deep, once again, is nothing but deep learning, where you are making use of artificial intelligence tools, you're making use of the virtual reality, you're making use of some advanced tools. But fake here basically stands for, you are creating a video, someone is creating an image, someone is coming up with the Photoshop tools and techniques whereby the original video or the original image is superimposed with fake video or fake information. So basically, in deepfake technology, what exactly happens? Let's assume for a moment there is an original video, or let's assume for a moment there is an original photo. So making use of the deep synthesis technology like artificial intelligence, virtual reality, Photoshop, so on and so forth, this original video is superimposed with fake content. The original photo is superimposed with fake photo, and ultimately there is misinformation that is generated, and this is spread across the length and breadth of the country. So what is deepfake technology? Deepfake basically means deep learning, use of artificial intelligence, and ultimately you're faking something to create something new, where the original is superimposed with something fake in character. So tools such as artificial intelligence, photoshopping, machine learning and many other are extensively used to create something like the fake videos, clips, so on and so forth. So what exactly happens whenever this particular issue created? What would happen? The privacy of a person is violated. Let's say of late there are many celebrities who are facing a lot of issues as well. There are politicians who are facing a lot of issue. Why? Because there is some other video, this is morphed into a fake video, and ultimately this fake video is circulated. There is pornographic content, there are information that are spread which is misinformation, where people are not able to make out the differences as to what is real, what is fake, and ultimately they may assume that this deep fake information actually is the reality. So basically, the deepfake information is where some of the people are making use of advanced technology to push negative image about some people and also share pornographic content, and at the same time there might be politicians whose images and videos are morphed, and ultimately if they give out some information, this fake video is also assumed to be the real video. What is the origin of deepfake? Deepfake originated in 2017 when an anonymous Reddit user called himself Deepfakes. This user manipulated Google's open source deep learning technology to create and post pornographic videos. The videos were doctored with a technique known as the face swapping. So, when such individuals had to face these deep faking videos and photos, their privacy is violated. They would come under stress and trauma, and there have been instances where they go through the emotional trauma, and for them to come back to the normal situation, it takes them a lot of time. So the deepfake technology is now being used for nefarious purposes like scams and hoaxes, celebrity pornography, election manipulation, social engineering, automated disinformation attacks, identity theft, financial fraud are some of the applications that are being developed so that this can be used, and ultimately a scam like scenario is created, and they also hoax and create a problem to the environment as well as for the security forces. There have been some examples as well. Deepfake technology has been used to impersonate former US Presidents Barack Obama and Donald Trump, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Facebook chief Mark Zuckerberg, and Hollywood celebrity Tom Cruise as well. China's new rule aims to combat the use of deepfake for spreading the information. There have been examples as well where David Beckham is speaking fluently in about 9 languages. This is one such example of deepfake technology. Then we have Mao Zedong singing I Will Survive. This is another example of deepfake technology. And we have Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk in a pilot episode of Star Trek as well. These are some of the examples where you would not be able to differentiate whether this is the original video or this is a deepfake technology improved video, so on and so forth. In order to regulate all these issues, in order to prevent, what we have is China coming up with its own set of rules and regulations. What is China's new policy to curb the deepfakes? The policy requires deep synthesis service providers and users to ensure any doctored content using the technology is explicitly labeled and traced back to the source. Let's say, for example, I am sending a message on WhatsApp. So I am the creator of the message. So whenever I create the message and I send it to this person, the first person who is receiving my message, if he sends this message to another person, it comes as forwarded. So where is the source? I am the source of the information. So whenever a person is creating something on the source, let's say for example a technology, a tool, this happens to be the source. So I have created something on this particular source. So this source, whoever is the creator, that should be explicitly mentioned. That is the first regulation. Added to it, whenever a person is morphing an image or a video of some other person, let's say there is a person A, he happens to be the original creator of the video and it is about person B. So if it is the image of person B or it is the video of person B, consent have to be taken by A with respect to B. So A will have to request B and ask B, dear B, I am morphing your photos, I am taking your consent. So explicit consent have to be given. Only then this person should be able to use the technology. So the first time he is using the tool, whenever he is making use of the tool, he is the person who has initiated it, he is the person who is creating it. So this person should be the source. This should be identified. So the tool software developer should be able to figure out who this creator is. That's the first thing. So WhatsApp should be able to understand who has created this particular message. Similarly, whoever has created that tool, he should know who is the person who has created it. So the source of the person should be known. And the second is with respect to the consent. So the consent of a person will also have to be taken as well. Third is to do with the local laws. Let's say for example, apart from the national laws, there are provinces as well. There are states within China. If there are local laws that are present, they have to be also respected. They have to respect the ethics, maintain the correct political direction and correct public opinion, orientation, so on and so forth. These are the three main provisions that China has come up with. So going forward, if this particular model works out in China, the same can be imported to multiple other countries so that we can prevent this deep fake technology is what is this article all about. So basically, as of now, when you look at this deep fake technology, it is being used for some of the criminal activities. So they're making use of the photos and the videos. They are creating a mess like situation. They are even threatening people as well, asking them for money. So they are engaging in criminal activities like online scams, defamation, so on and so forth. The second is there is so much advancement of the technology that it is becoming harder to detect. So once we come up with the source and the consent, we would be able to prevent the fake news as well as threatening as well. And also remember, China has come up with it. They have laid a policy framework, so we have to wait and watch what are the difficulties when it comes to implementation. Now, what we have to focus is on similar other laws when it comes to different countries as well as the unions. The European Union has an updated code of practice to stop the spread of disinformation through deepfakes. What they have is the code of practice. The revised code requires tech companies, including Google, Meta, Twitter, to take measures in countering deepfakes and fake accounts on their platform. So, if there are people who have created fake profile, these companies should be able to stop it. They have 6 months to implement their measures. Once they have signed up to the code, first they have to sign up to the code, and once they sign up the code within 6 months, they should be able to eliminate these accounts. And if something goes by these accounts, they should also be able to stop them on their platform. If found non-compliant, these companies can face fines as much as 6% of their annual global turnover according to the updated code. Introduced in 2018, the Code of Practice on Disinformation brought together for the first time worldwide industry players to commit to counter disinformation. This is what is happening in the European Union. Now let's look at United States of America. In 2021, the US introduced bipartisan deepfake Task Force Act to assist the Department of Homeland Security to counter deepfake technology. The measure directs the Department of Homeland Security to conduct an annual study of deepfakes, assess the technology used, track its uses by foreign and domestic entities, and come up with available countermeasures to tackle the same. Some states in United States, such as California and Texas, have passed laws that criminalize the publishing and distributing of deepfake videos that influence the outcome of an election. So if they're trying to involve in the democratic manifestation, they're trying to play with the election, in that case, they can also be booked under criminal charges in California and Texas. The law in Virginia imposes criminal penalties on the distribution of non-consensual deepfake pornography as well. These are some of the laws that we have when it comes to European Union as well as United States of America. What about India? Do we have a law in India? The answer to this is no. We do not have a law which only looks at deepfake technology. What we have is different kinds of laws. These laws can be interpreted so that ultimately the perpetrator of deepfake technology can be brought under the law books. What are the laws that we have? We have the Information Technology Act, which can be used. We also have the Indian Penal Code as well, which can be used. We can also make use of the Copyright Act of 1957. These are the basic laws that we can make use of in order to penalize the person if he has committed a breach by using the deepfake technology. First, let us look at some of the important law in the Information Technology Act. We have section 66D of the Information Technology Act of 2000. Punishment for cheating by personation by using computer resource. Whoever by means for any communication device or computer resource cheats by impersonating shall be punished with an imprisonment of either description for a term which may extend to 3 years and shall be liable to fine which may extend to 1 lakh rupees. So section 66D of the information technology can be used if some other person is personating as some other person. So A is showcasing himself as B, but he is not B. In that case, if it is happening via a computer resource, this person can be penalized. Then we have punishment for the violation of privacy. Whoever intentionally or knowingly captures, publishes or transmits the image of a private area of any person without his or her consent under circumstances violating the privacy of that person shall be punished with imprisonment which may extend to 3 years or with fine not exceeding 2 lakh rupees or with both. And we also know for the fact that with the Puttaswamy judgment, Article 21 now covers the right to privacy as well. So if there is a particular person not taking the consent of another individual, if he happens to share some of the private images of this person, he can also be penalized under the Information Technology Act. Then we have the Copyright Act of 1957 as well. We have one of the important sections under the Copyright Act, which is section 51 of the Copyright Act of 1957. Using any property that belongs to another person on which this person has an exclusive right is violation of the act. And at the same time, when you consider the Indian Penal Code, we have one of the important sections, that is forgery, under 463 of the Indian Penal Code. So a person can also be booked under forgery, and if the person so desires, defamation case can also be filed on this person who's created such a scenario. So basically, we do not have an explicit law, but what we have is series of law from which we would be able to bring an end to this deepfake technology. However, do note, in case you do witness any of the cyber related activities or cyber crimes, what would a person do? He can immediately call up this 1930 and also complain as well. So stay safe against cybercrime by dialing 1930, or you can also lodge a complaint on their website by going to www.cybercrime.government.in. These are some of the measures that can be taken up if you witness any cybercrime that a person goes through. And as part of the assignment and as part of further reading, I am giving you an assignment where there is an essay topic that can also come up in this when it comes to the technology. What is the essay topic? Technology is a useful servant but a dangerous master. Who has given this quote? Put it on the comment section, and at the same time, please do write a essay on this and put it on the comment section as well, because UPSC in the past has also asked questions about technology. So you should have few points about such pointers. So the technology is a useful servant but a dangerous master. Who said it? Put it on the comment section. This article says India's crushing court backlogs, out of box reform. This article here is primarily speaking about the pendency of the cases in the Indian judicial system. When we look at the lower judiciary, we have crores of cases. When we look at the Supreme Court, we have more than 70,000 cases that are there. We know for the fact that justice delayed is justice denied. Even if the court has given a verdict which might be in the favor of one of the persons, if this person is not able to reap the benefits of this particular judgment, what is the use of the judgment? So basically, what we have to do is provide justice to this person. However, there is pendency of cases which is not allowing the judicial system to come up and serve justice for the people. So how do we overcome this particular issue? This article currently goes on to say that we can increase the number of judges over a period of time. But do we have the manpower? Do we have the money power? Do we have the infrastructural power? No. The government does not have enough money, or even if they do not have, there are other priorities as well when it comes to the infrastructure for the government. So increasing the number of judges, if it is going to solve the problem, is not the right way. Added to it, there has been a statement that is also given by the Chief Justice of India, D.Y. Chandrachud, where he went on to say that they are finding it very difficult to find good high court judges as well. So these are the issues that are existing. So how do we overcome? The author here gives us some of the recommendations. What are the recommendations given by the author? The author first looks into the High Court. When you look at the High Court, the retirement age for the High Court judges is about 62 years. As part of the assignment, put on the comment section what is the retirement age of the Supreme Court judges. So the High Court judges retire at an age of 62, which means that they would have earned enough amount of experience, they would have vast amount of knowledge that they would have gauged over a period of time with their expertise. So what happens? They have 62 years at the age of which they go on to retire. Why not increase this age? And at the same time, why not make use of their expertise? 62 is basically a very early number when it comes to the judicial system. So why not increase this? And at the same time, why not make use of the expertise of these retired High Court judges? They are retiring at 62. They have a vast amount of experience, and this experience can be made use by the judicial system in the country. So instead of allowing them to retire at the age of 62, let's make use of their expertise in every domain possible so that their expertise can also bring down the number of cases in the system. So the first is either increase their age group, that is from 62 to whatever is suitable according to the law, and let's make use of the expertise of the High Court judges is the first recommendation. The second is to bring back retired Supreme Court judges to hear admission of special leave petitions. We have something called as the special leave petition. Which article speaks about special leave petition? Please put it on the comment section. What is this special leave petition? Let's say for example, we have the lower court, we have the High Court, and ultimately what we have is the Supreme Court. We have the High Court. Let's say they would have made a decision with respect to one of the cases. Now this case will have to go to the Supreme Court of India. Will the Supreme Court just accept the way it is? No. There might be a question of law, there might be a question of statute as well, there might be a component which the High Court may not be able to decide, or even if it is decided, there might be ambiguity with this particular decision. So the person who is filing an appeal will file it to the Supreme Court of India. So the Supreme Court will look into this particular case and will give a certification whether it has to accept or not. So special leave petitions basically means that when an appeal is being sent from the High Court to the Supreme Court, there has to be someone who has to look into this particular question whether the Supreme Court has to accept this particular case or not. So special leave is requesting the Supreme Court of India that, dear Supreme Court, there is a question of law, there is an issue that we wish to articulate in the Supreme Court, so please give us the permission, accept this particular case so that we can come to the Supreme Court and argue our case. Whether the Supreme Court will accept this or not, someone has to look into it. As of now, it is the Supreme Court judges who are looking into it. So instead of employing the present Supreme Court judges, why not utilize the expertise of the retired Supreme Court judges? If most of the time is being spent by the judges whether to accept this special leave petition or not, why waste the important time of the court? Instead, let's give it to these retired Supreme Court judges. So they will see through this particular document whether this appeal has to be accepted or not. They will discuss, they will come up with an ultimate conclusion. So for all those, whether they have to be accepted by the Supreme Court or not, is and can be done by the retired Supreme Court judges. So let's employ them is the second recommendation. Why? That is because as of now it is the work of the judges. Why make use of the judges for these kind of work? Instead, let's make use of the expertise of the retired Supreme Court judges, and if we can give them due incentives as well, they will be ready to do it is the second recommendation. Third recommendation is to do with the online justice system. What is this online justice system? Whenever you speak about online technology, what it has been able to do, it is able to save time, it is able to save the cost of the litigation as well. During the COVID-19 period, when the courts were not able to function in the physical parameter, what we had were advocates who were able to argue the cases on the virtual platform, on the Zoom, on Cisco, so on and so forth. So why not continue the same? One, it will save the time, and at the same time it will also save the cost as well. Why not continue with this hybrid model of justice where we can strengthen the online justice? Wherever physical appearance is required, let's continue with the physical process. If it is not so, why not continue with this online dispute resolution process? Why not continue with the online process, virtual mode of communication, so that people from the length and the breadth of the country are able to appear before the court of law? So what we have to do is strengthen online justice. Fourth is to employ the mediation. What is this mediation? This happens to be an alternative dispute resolution. So instead of going to the court of law, what we have is an alternative avenue where mediation can be promoted. Let's say, for example, if there are couple who want to get divorced, but then there is something called as mediation where there will be a mediator. The mediator will try to convince both the parties. So you would have the husband on one side, you would have the wife on the other side. So you would also have the mediator who would try and say, yes, these are the difficulties that come in all marriages. You have to adjust. You have to make sure that you don't call her repeatedly. The wife will also have to be convinced. The husband will also have to be convinced. So all the differences that are existing in this matrimonial discord, these issues will have to be addressed. So the mediator is just facilitating this dispute resolution. So the dispute is they want a divorce, but then the mediator is making sure that they should not be divorced. So is facilitating this dispute resolution by mediating between the parties. And ultimately, if this can be resolved, that is what is called as mediation. So even before it goes to the court of law, if it can be done via the mediation, why not promote it? So if we look into the statistics, there have been ample number of examples in the past as well, where some of the civil, commercial, property related disputes have been resolved using the mediation. So why not make use of the mediation? In fact, most mediation centers have a success rate which is about 50% as well. So why not increase the mediation? And at the same time, when you engage in mediation, one, it saves the time, and at the same time it eliminates the appeals as well. So what if the person goes to the lower court, he is not happy with the decision, goes to the high court, he has the money, he goes to the Supreme Court, this entire process of appeal that actually clogs up the pendency cases can also be eliminated. And at the same time, we are also restoring the relationship between both the parties as well. In this particular backdrop, the author also comes up and makes a recommendation: why not create Indian mediation service similar to that of the judicial service which is being planned? So why not create an Indian mediation service, is what the author says. So basically, if we can make use of these four recommendations to a minimal extent, we would be able to reduce the pendency in our court, is what is this article all about. Now let's look into the next article. This article says good governance beyond motherhood and apple pie. Let us try and understand what is this article all about. As the very name denotes, this article here is speaking about good governance. Let us try and understand the meaning of governance first. Then we will understand the meaning of good governance, and we will try and understand what is the author trying to convey. When we speak about governance, there are two meanings to it. One is the historical meaning or the traditional viewpoint of governance. The second happens to be the modern viewpoint of governance. What is this traditional or the historical viewpoint of governance? Who is responsible for taking care of the people? It is the government, it is the state. So what we have is a social contract theory where basically people would accept certain terms and conditions and they choose the representatives. They also pay the taxes. So it is the government's responsibility to take care of the people. So if we are speaking about the traditional viewpoint of governance, who has to take care of the people? It is only the responsibility of the government. So when it comes to the traditional viewpoint, it is the government which has to take care of the people, and it is government alone which has to bring welfare schemes, programs, so on and so forth, so that people are developed and empowered over a period of time. Then what we have is the modern viewpoint of governance. What is this modern viewpoint? Let's say, for example, when it comes to the modern viewpoint, we have the government we also have the NGOs as well, we also have the civil society as well, we also have corporate bodies as well. When it comes to the government, yes, it is the major stakeholder when it comes to the welfare schemes and programs, but you also have NGOs which also play a part, then civil society also play a part as well, then we have the corporate social bodies where they have something like the CSR, so on and so forth. So everyone is contributing to the society. So the modern meaning of governance, it is not just the responsibility of the government. The civil society pitches in, the NGOs step in, you have the corporate bodies which also step in. So everyone is contributing to the governance of the country. So traditionally, it is only government which is accountable, and in the modern setup, everyone are accountable. This is the meaning of governance. So if a particular scheme or a program of a welfare measure has to be successful, the outcome has to reach its optimum level, everyone has to contribute, is the meaning of governance. So what is good governance? So if it is consensus oriented, if it is participatory, which means I and you are also able to contribute to the cause of it, what we have is not top down approach but bottom up approach. Then we have following the rule of law, effective and efficient method, equitable and inclusive government, responsive reaction, transparent process, and accountability. If everything is part of this scheme of things, that is when good governance can be brought about, is what is the meaning of good governance. So this article currently goes on to say that it is not just the government, everyone have to contribute if good governance have to be given to the people of the country. The first important parameter that the article looks into is from the framework of the government. So if good governance has to be given to the people, what is that the government, the legislators will have to do? First, you have to make sure that all the traditional laws that we have, the statutes that we have, the laws which we are not using, is completely eliminated from the system. We have some of the vintage laws as well which you and me would not have heard of. Such laws should be deleted from the book list. So basically there were about 2000 acts, statutes, subordinate legislation which include dozens of appropriation acts, Excise Act 1863, Foreign Recruiting Act of 1874, Elephants Preservation Act of 1879, Bengal Districts Act of 1836, all were done away with. So the first thing that the government did was to eliminate some of the statutes that we were not using. So identify these kind of laws which we are not using and ultimately eliminate them from the statute books and the system. Added to it, the author also gives an example of state governments as well. This is what happened at the central level. Similarly, there are multiple states which do have their own set of laws. Such laws should be eliminated. The author takes the example of Karnataka. Karnataka is one of the India's fastest growing states with a GSDP of 20.50 lakh crore, 38.34 lakh enterprises, 9.2 lakh provident fund payers, 70.84 lakh workers. It has 1.1 crore students in schools, 21.8 lakh students pursuing higher education, and Karnataka ranked 17th in 2019 Business Reform Action Plan. Avantis RegTech has studied industries and compliance across Indian states, and it concludes that Karnataka features in the top 5 states in India in terms of compliance burden, which basically means that there are too many laws in the country which the business units will have to comply by. If they don't comply by, then they will be ultimately penalized for it. But these laws, none of them know about it. They have no idea where to refer to these laws as well. So this report highlights that there are 26,134 criminal clauses across India, and almost 40% of the compliance can send an entrepreneur to jail. Such things will have to be eliminated because entrepreneurs are the one who give new jobs. They are the wealth creators of the country. If it is suitably required, then go ahead with it. But most of these clauses are vintage in nature, and that should be eliminated, says this article. So basically, all these state specific jail clauses, or even if they are present at the national level, if we are not using it, remove such laws, and at the same time dilute these jail clause losses, is the first major recommendation given by the author. The second is with respect to the criminal conduct by a public servant. What do we mean by it? we have the Prevention of the Corruption Act. In Prevention of the Corruption Act, let's say we have one of the public servant. This public servant earlier, if he had entered into an agreement, let's say for example, there are series of companies. Let's say we have a government department. This government department, let's say, wants computers or it requires laptops. So what does this person do? This person, the public servant, will procure this particular laptop, let's say from a company A, or he might procure it from a company B, or he might procure it from a company C. So this company C may be giving a laptop, let's say hypothetically, at about 20,000, but this company A might be giving this particular laptop, let's say at 22,000, but this person does not have any relationship whatsoever with this particular company C, but in all goodwill he has understood that this particular company's A products are much better, which is why they are giving at a cost of 22,000, and he procures this particular product for that particular department. But in the near future, there might be an investigation that might be conducted, and this person might also be penalized as well. Why? Because he already had a provision of buying these laptops for 20,000, but he went ahead with 22,000. Even if he's trying to say that the product was good, they may not believe it. So what has the Modi government done? The Modi government has done is that in the Prevention of the Corruption Act, if it is done out of the goodwill, if there is no quid pro quo, there is no reciprocity, and if that is not proved, so this person need not have to worry, and he will not be culpable, he will not be penalized, was one of the provision that was eliminated from the Prevention of the Corruption Act. So they would now be able to operate, they would be able to work without fear, is the second one. So if there are such laws which is actually preventing the public servants from working to their full strength, such should be eliminated, says the author. The third is with respect to the DigiLocker. How many of us use the DigiLocker? It's an app. It's an app created by the Government of India. Let's say you have to access your 10th standard marks card. So there is a copy of the 10th standard marks card on the DigiLocker. Let's say you have to access your 12th standard marks card. You can access the marks card on this DigiLocker, or you want the Aadhaar card. This DigiLocker would be able to import this Aadhaar card, PAN card. So if you have all the government related documents, you should be able to download it in this DigiLocker, and if people ask for it, you can show it, and if people are shown this, it has to be accepted because this is authenticated by the Government of India. What if you do not have the driving license? Let's say you are traveling from the state of Maharashtra, you go up to Uttar Pradesh, but you have your license in the DigiLocker. You do not have an offline copy or a hard copy of it. So if you go to the state of Uttar Pradesh, if you have this DigiLocker copy of it in DigiLocker, you would still be able to showcase it, and they have to accept it. So there are documents which can be saved on this DigiLocker. So this is a means of empowering good governance, says the author. Similarly, Karnataka has implemented Kutumba, Family Beneficiary Database, Fruits, Farmer Registration and Unified Beneficiary Information System, Swamitwa, drone-based property and land mapping or survey of villages, Abadi and mapping with improvised technology in villages area. Then we have Grama 1, single point assistance center for citizen centric activities and panchayat level, all leading to more good governance. So if it can be simplified, why not make use of the technology and simplify the process? This is an aspect of good governance, so many other states will have to develop such applications, says the author. The fourth recommendation goes on to say, no state government or the Government of India has any common portal through which business even get to know fully the extent of compliance burden. What are the different compliance laws? What are the rules and regulations? We do not have a common portal. So create this common portal for the entire country, so that if there is a business unit, if they wish to want to get the information, they can look up to this one single portal, is the next recommendation. Finally, as we initially discussed, DigiLocker is one of the use of technology. So if there are any similar other applications which will reduce the burden for the people, so use of technology should also be developed for the good governance. Finally, India's tax to GDP ratio hovers around 11 to 12% as against 45% in the United States of America. We all want the benefits of the welfare schemes and programs. We want beautiful roads as well. But where does the money come from? It comes from the taxes, but most of us do not pay the taxes. It is also a pride for us that we say that we'd skip the paying taxes as well. If only the country develops, we all develop. That is the intention that we have to hold. So, one of the meanings of governance is civil society also has to contribute. So, only when we are able to pay the taxes, that is when we will get all the welfare schemes and programs and much better infrastructure, says the author. So, for the good governance, if we are able to import and implement all these measures, we would ultimately able to reap the benefits of good governance, is what is this article all about. Now, let's look into the next article. This article says Maharashtra to have Lokayukta law on the lines of the center's Lokpal. So, the Maharashtra government has approved Anna Hazare committee report on introducing the Lokayukta in the state along the lines of the center's Lokpal law. This basically means what we will have is the chief minister and the state cabinet who will be part of the Lokayukta's ambit, and when it comes to the Lokayukta will be a retired chief justice of the high court or a supreme court judge, and the anti-corruption act will be made part of this law, and the Lokayukta will have a team of 5 people including the retired judges. So this law will basically empower Maharashtra to become corruption free, and this government will plan to introduce the Lokayukta as soon as possible in a reform manner, is what is this article all about. Now let's look into the mains practice questions. What do you understand by deepfakes? Discuss the ethical and legal challenges of deepfakes. Next question. There is a growing need for quick and speedy resolution so that justice can be served to the people. In the light of the statement, suggest measures to reduce pendency of cases. So please write all your answers on the comment section. If you wish to upload an image, you can visit BYJU'S free IAS prep website, upload an image as well. So this is it for today. Thank you for watching. All the best.